everyone, I am Simran Kaur. You're watching eSpotlight, a program brought to you by Golden Jubilee Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, Guru Nanak Dev University. Today I have with me Dr. Sugandh Chauhan. She is Geo ICT consultant at Eviden and is an expert associated with PUM Netherlands. We are so honored and grateful to have you with us. Well, to start with, I'd like to first ask you briefly introduce yourself. What makes you you? What has been your journey? Where do you come from?
Firstly, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and this platform to talk about myself. My name is Sugandh, and I currently reside in the Netherlands. Um, uh, but originally, of course, I'm from India, Gurgaon. And I did my PhD from the Netherlands in the topic of how we can use data from the satellites for the sustainable agricultural practices. And yeah, after that, I just joined a startup in the Netherlands, and now I'm on this industrial journey where I'm trying to apply my data analytical skills in solving day-to-day social and environmental problems.
So, but when you tell people what you do, and when they know that okay, it's all about numbers, what kind of reactions do you get?
Firstly, it's a bit challenging for me to
Yeah.
explain people what I do because people understand a data analyst position. They know what a data analyst does. But for me, I'm a data analyst at its core, but I'm a geospatial data analyst. I analyze data coming from the satellites, drones, and it's all geographical data. So that kind of field is a bit still emerging and very much in the initial phases, and that is something it's difficult to explain to a layman. So yeah, they have their notions of how what data analyst does. They work with numbers, machine learning algorithms, models, AI, and all that. But I think the most interesting part for me to explain to people is how satellite data is being used on in our day-to-day lives for solving our day-to-day issues. So that is a fun thing to express.
So when we had our early conversation, there was this one term that was coming time and again: sustainability.
Yes.
So you seem very passionate about it, and I think your PhD focuses on that as well.
Yes.
So I'd like you to briefly talk about it. How do you explain the term? How do you see it? Where do you think we are right now in understanding what sustainability is? And are we actually being sensitive to its meaning right now or not?
So the textbook definition of sustainability is that you need to use the resources that you have today in a way that there will be ample amount of those resources left for our future generations as well. So they can also live and thrive while they live. But that is, yes, that I also understand and relate to that definition. But my own definition of sustainability is that making some informed and conscious choices in your day to day life and trying to understand every step that you make, every choice that you make has a consequence, has a repercussion, and just understanding, at least being conscious of that, being understanding of that concept is very important. And then of course you need to take some steps towards that as well. So my work, my PhD focused around that. That's where I got to really dive deeper into this concept. I got more conscious about how I can make sustainable choices on a more personal front as well. And now, even with the data that I use, I'm trying to use it for good, for making a impact on the planet in some way or the other. Working out for the farmers, working towards more sustainable agricultural practices. So that is my mission, to use this big data. A lot of data is available today, and use it for something good.
So you've been associated in past with a startup called Space for Goods, right? So when you're working with a startup, it's somebody else's entrepreneurial journey. You're on the same boat with them. It's their vision, it's their mission, you know? But when you're working as an employee with an entrepreneur, you somewhere see failures and success as part and parcel. You share all the emotions with that one person who is leading the team. So being an employee in such a firm, how do you think an entrepreneur should behave? Because you've experienced that firsthand. As an employee, you might have felt this is not how it should be done, this is not how, our boss should be behaving, you know. And at other points, you must have been like such a charismatic personality. So, how do you explain that? What characteristics do you think are important in an entrepreneur?
So, firstly, I would like to just give one advice to all the people who are pursuing their career in the academic sector, that if you do want to make a switch from academics to the industrial field, it's always good to make this transition through a startup in between. So working in a startup gives you that environment where you can learn a lot, you can develop yourself, you learn on the job. There is an environment and space to make mistakes as well and learn from them and grow. So there are a lot of opportunities you get working for a startup. So that is one piece of advice I would like to give all the people who are trying to make this switch. And working for a startup, I realized that it's very important for the founder or the CEO of the company to have certain set of skills that can keep all the people together. I really saw um, in my boss's personality. His name was Alexander. His name is Alexander, and I saw that he was that person who would want to be emotionally attached with his employees. He wants to be there for them. He wants to understand their problems. He was super open to feedback. He always made sure that people can always approach him with his problems or whatever. So, since it was a small team of 13 people, that kind of environment is very important for the employees because they want to be heard and they want to be understood. And I think he created that. So, that was really commendable. And I think that's a quality that every entrepreneur must have, especially in a startup
Yeah.
phase. Yeah.
But then, as an employee,
Mm-hmm.
what characteristics should you have in your personality, especially when you're dealing with an entrepreneur, when you're working in a startup? Because it can get a little overwhelming,
Yes.
because when the failures hit, it's the vision of the entrepreneur. You have to act accordingly, right?
Yeah.
Your behaviors cannot differ there.
Yes.
You have to be, have to carry the same psyche.
Mhm.
So being an employee in a startup, what characteristics do you think an employee should have?
I think, yeah, there are certain set of traits that every employee needs to have when they are working for a startup. The first thing that an employee must keep in mind that you will not be just doing one job. You'll be required to do many different kinds of things that are not there in your job title. So I was working there as a remote sensing data analyst, but I was also taking interviews of the candidates. I was an HR. I was doing a lot of admin stuff. I was supervising the interns. I was facing the clients as well. So there are many things that you are required to do in a startup, and that is a good thing because I really feel that you get to explore so many parts of the company, how the company operates. You really get an understanding of that. So that is a really nice thing to keep in mind, that you will be required to do many things and don't complain about that. So that is very important. And secondly, it's important that you understand the vision and the mission of the company, what the company is trying to do. If you don't understand that, you're just on this journey where you don't know what the destination is, how the journey is going to look like. It's going to be very difficult for you to understand what's happening. It will be difficult for you to just stay there because you don't understand. So aligning your vision with the mission and the vision of the company is very important. So that is an advice I would like to give to the people who are working for a startup as well.
Yeah. So you seem very passionate about your work, but at the same time, there might be situations, where it gets too monotonous or it gets too hectic, right? Because I think some jobs are not 9 to 5. Even when you're home, something's stuck in your mind. There are questions you need to answer. There's data left to be analyzed. So it's not 9 to 5. It goes beyond that.
Yeah.
So when it gets overwhelming for you, when it gets hectic for you, whatever pushes you off the edge, whatever makes you feel restless. So what do you do? How do you tackle with those situations? Because I think it's very important that when you're doing your work, you're totally invested into it, but you have to be totally clear. You need to have a clear mind. You need to have a stable mind for that. So when it gets hectic for Dr. Sugandh Chauhan, what does she do? How does she tackle that?
So In my experience, whatever small experience I've had so far, working for a startup made me realize that it is important to maintain these healthy boundaries between your work and your own personal life, what you do after your work. So even though when you sometimes when you're really passionate about a topic, you want to keep working on it. It's always there in your mind 24/7. But it is very important to maintain this hard boundary of 9 to 5,
Yeah.
even though it doesn't happen practically. But it is important to at least have that mindset that this is my 9 to 5 job, and after this job I'm going to do something else,
Yeah.
something else that makes me happy. It could be, for me it was dancing, cooking, interacting with people, socializing. So there are many more things to life that needs to be explored. So I personally believe that even though I'm passionate, I love my job, I still want to keep it 9 to 5, because there are many cases of burnouts these days, and
Yeah.
it usually happens to the people who are so passionate about their work, happens to the people who are working for NGOs, startups, or their own companies. So I'm just 32 right now. I don't want to be burned out. So I'm trying to take it slow and maintaining these healthy boundaries and being able to say no to things when you need to is very important. So that's how I do it.
So you've also been associated with PUM,
Yes.
Netherlands.
Yes.
As an expert.
Hmm.
So what duties do you play? What's your role?
So PUM is a volunteer organization based in the Netherlands, and their mission is to send experts from the Netherlands and different parts of the world to all these SMEs and the emerging markets and developing nations, so they can share their expertise and knowledge with these entrepreneurs who are setting up their own businesses.
Mhm.
So, as a collaboration of PUM with my company Eviden, I came here for this project on crop diversification. This is a project we are collaborating on with the Center of Agricultural Research here in GNDU University. And what we are trying to do is we are making a model for the farmers so that we can help them recommend them alternative crops that they can grow in their fields, specifically to the context of Punjab, because we know that the farmers here are quite stuck in this rice and wheat growing cycles, and they want to make a change, they want to make a switch, but it's not happening. It's very slow. They don't have the confidence, they don't know what kind of crops they can grow actually. So we are helping them through this model to we are helping them make these informed choices based on the data that we have.
All right. So we have four organizations right now in picture, right? That Dr. Sugandh Chauhan is associated with. So it's Eviden, the company that you're working with, PUM, Netherlands, and then here at Guru Nanak Dev University, you're associated with the Agriculture Department.
Yes.
The carry, and then it's Incubation Center, GJCEI.
Yes. Yes.
So if I have to bring all these bodies together, I think you need support,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're working in a company, right, which sends you on voluntary projects, for which you're here and you're associated with our incubation center. You need the support.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, incubation center needs to be supportive as well, because they are having you here, you're going to work in association with them. So talking about all these bodies together, the kind of balance that they bring, what role do you think our incubation center is playing in facilitating that?
Mm-hmm. So, I think firstly, I would like to mention that my company Eviden, it would not have been possible if they were not willing to send out people, their own employees, on these voluntary missions. So they have this CSR initiative, which is corporate social responsibility. So they try to save certain budget for making these voluntary missions, for making for collaborating on projects which is creating some kind of impact in the nations like India. So firstly, I'm really grateful and thankful to the people in my company who agreed that something like this could be useful and something like this needs a contribution from the employees of Eviden. So that was the first starting point. The second step was PUM organization. So we have this collaboration with PUM and Eviden, where PUM basically seeks out experts, if they don't have the experts in their own database, they seek out external experts from companies like Evident. So that is how this project came to me. And after coming here, the project has been making really good progress, and it's been a really a wonderful experience interacting with the farmers as well, getting to understand their challenges. And I think this incubation center in the university is a really, I think it's a milestone, to be honest, because this incubation center is giving this entrepreneurial environment to the students, and it is very important for these centers to exist because these are the centers which are turning the ideas into reality. And that is very important. For these kind of centers are important to show students that they are whatever they are learning is not just theoretical.
Yeah.
It can be really applied outside in the world. And that's where I'm really impressed that GNDU has started this initiative where they are opening these kind of incubation centers, and they are inviting experts from different parts of the world, where these experts can guide students. These experts are guiding teachers as well. I gave a workshop here on how we can use data from the satellites for different applications. So I'm really happy that an institute in India is making such progress towards making the knowledge more accessible to the market, and that is what I'm really happy about.
So, when we had our earlier conversation, you mentioned eco bricks made with plastic.
Yes.
And when you were explaining that, you seemed so delighted. So, I'd like to know the journey behind that. What is it? Where does it come from? The term, what's the process? So just enlighten us about it.
Yeah, ecobricks is something I got to learn from my father. He was really passionate, and he keeps doing these interesting things that are around the concept of sustainability. So what he does is he basically takes all the plastic that's being consumed and produced inside the household, and he's putting everything in a plastic bottle. So
Right.
he keeps pushing all the plastic into that bottle until that bottle becomes so hard that it cannot contain any plastic anymore. So I saw him doing this, and I was really amazed, and I was like, okay, let me try this. So whenever I go home now, that's what I do. I just ask my mom just to keep all the plastic aside. I'm going to put everything into a bottle and see how much plastic can I actually put in a bottle. So, and I was really surprised to see that uh, the plastic worth being used in 1 month can be fit inside one bottle. That was really amazing to see, and I hope I can keep making more of these plastic bottles. They are called eco bricks, and these bricks can actually be used to make furnitures as well. So that's really
So
interesting.
that's
for me.
where actually your journey started from.
Yes.
If I have to,
Yes.
if I have to say,
Yes.
because that, when you talk about it and when you share experiences like that, I think it just takes one moment, to motivate you, to put you on a path, and you just know it like this, is something
Definitely.
I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Definitely, yeah.
We have been so grateful to have you. And
So much.
before we sign off, I'd like you to give a small message to the budding entrepreneurs who are watching this interview right now.
So, hello to all the entrepreneurs, and I really hope that whatever you are trying to do, you're really passionate about that. Whatever ideas you have, it's very important to stick to maybe one or two in the beginning and try to find a niche in the market. Sometimes people are just all over the place, but it's very important to be more focused and concentrated, and just try to create a space for yourself in the market on this one niche. And I think that is the way to go forward, and that's what I got to know through my journey of working in a startup. So I think that is one tip I would like to give.
Thank you so much for
Yes.
being here with us today. I'm definitely sure the entrepreneurs are going to find this interview very interesting and very motivating.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I'm Simran Kaur signing off. We'll be coming with more interesting interviews with entrepreneurs. Stay tuned. Thank you.